and the smart speaker that said his name. At 2:31 a.m., the living room went blue for a second and the smart speaker said, "Okay, calling Julian." It was polite, efficient, and treacherous, like a concierge with a knife behind his back. The ringback tone filled the apartment, thin as floss. Then a voicemail prompt, cheerful as a receptionist. "Leave your message after the tone." There was no message. Only silence, then the click of a call that had wanted to exist and failed. I lay on the couch with a book I wasn't reading and watched the ceiling reconsider its loyalties. Leela was asleep in the bedroom, door half open the way we leave it when we're trying to be generous, or when we want plausible deniability. The speaker's ringback tone kept echoing in my head like a hook from a song I didn't remember liking. I said, too softly for the microphone but just loud enough for my fear, "We don't know a Julian anymore." The morning tried to be a clean slate. Coffee, the sound of the city finding its teeth, messages from people who think urgency is a quality you can attach to emails like a bow. Leela padded in with the duvet around her shoulders like a robe she'd won by being right. She kissed my cheek. "You were up late," she said. "Did the book finally get good?" "Barely," I said, and looked at the speaker like it might volunteer context. She followed my eyes and smiled. "You still hate that thing." "It called someone at 2:30, I said, "without permission." "Glitch," she said, dismissing it with the easy faith of a person whose job is to teach teenagers that metaphors aren't lies. "It mishears, it misbehaves. It apologizes by turning off your lights." "Julian," I said. She rubbed her temple as if smoothing out a wrinkle in time. "The name exists in the world," she said gently. "It doesn't only belong to a curator with a coat that thinks it's art." She was right. Also she was. We've been doing that dance long enough to know when we're both right enough to be dangerous. At lunch I checked the speaker's activity log because I get paid to find out when systems are lying. The entry was there. "Call placed, Julian Mobile." The contact card it used wasn't on my phone. It was on Layla's, synced through some quiet agreement we'd made when the apartment was new, and we wanted our devices to believe we were one creature. The log listed 3 voice commands across the last month at ungodly hours. Each time the microphone claiming it heard something like "okay" and "call," and the name the city refuses to retire. At 3, a text from a number I didn't have any more. "You're not the only one who hates him, you know. If the furniture starts dialing, take away its privileges. Or meet me at Loom at 5. I'll translate." The M didn't need a surname. Mara has a way of arriving like a good argument, lean, bracing, useful. I walked to Loom because Mara rarely wastes a summons. The cafe smelled like citrus and ambition. She sat with her red scarf folded into compliance and a notebook flattened by a rubber band. "You look underslept and overscheduled," she said, sliding a cup toward me. "Drink. Speak." I told her about 231 and the ringback tone and the log that showed 3 attempts when one would have been either an accident or a confession. I told her I had already tried the self-humiliation of asking our assistant, "Why did you call Julian?" and being told, "Sorry, I didn't get that." I told her I wanted to believe in glitches because glitches don't owe you apologies, they owe you updates. "Are you here to be soothed or to be sober?" she asked. "Both," I said, "in that order." She lifted her chin toward the door. Anna slipped in with a tray, the scar on her wrist pale as a healed moon. "The name gets lodged in the fabric of the room," Anna said by way of greeting. "You say it once where there's a microphone, and the room thinks your mouth is a switch. It will keep flipping until you tell it to stop." "Is she?" I started. "Seeing him," Mara finished. "No, He's seeing himself as usual, and occasionally he imagines her reflection belongs to his mirror. Last week he asked her to consult on an intimacy and architecture panel. Men are inventing new ways to call hunger a job. She said no. He said the city would be less interesting if everybody stayed loyal. She said he was confusing novelty with depth. Anna set the tray down. He also walked by your building and said your street had boring energy, she added, which is to say, he's alive and unfrightened of being disliked. I can ask her, I said. I'm tired of being watched by my own furniture. Ask, Mara said, but ask without auditioning for injury. Invite accuracy, not theater. I went home early and turned the speaker off like you take a bell off a cat. Leela came in at 6, hair damp from a rain that hadn't decided to commit. She saw the cord dangling and winced. Did you punish the gadget? It called him, I said, more than once. She leaned against the counter and stared at the unplugged mouth. He left a message for me 3 days ago, she said, not bothering to pretend she'd planned to volunteer it. He wanted to apologize for apologizing. I blocked the number. I forgot the speaker knows all our old habits. It shouldn't, I said. I can fix the sink. She nodded. Fix the sink, she said. Then quieter, as if stepping into a smaller room. I want to fix the rituals too. We made pasta and ate it standing up like the counter had become an altar to bad decisions avoided. Then she said, there's evidence I didn't give you because I was ashamed of the day it belonged to, and took my hand to the bedroom closet. On the top shelf, in a shoebox under the winter scarves, she kept the souvenirs she doesn't pretend are holy. Ticket stubs, a napkin with a phone number from when we were stupid and brave, the key card from a hotel we stayed in the night we decided to admit we were happy. She brought the box to the bed and pulled out a paper scrap folded to the size of discomfort. It was a program from a small gallery opening, dated 2 months ago. The title, Probable Rooms. The curatorial statement was a marriage of flattery and theft. On the back, in careful handwriting not hers, call me if you want the better version. Better version of what? I asked, though I knew the answer was you. Of the story he tells about me, she said. He keeps waiting for me to miss being a fictive object. I miss being a bad idea, I said, surprising both of us with the honesty. Only sometimes. She laughed into my shoulder, that low, unweaponized laugh that belongs to us. We should be allowed to miss the wrong thing, she said. We just don't have to go pick it up. We didn't go to bed to make amends. We went because talking had made us tender and tired, and I wanted to write something on her skin that reminded both of us what we were choosing. Eroticism lives in the precise. The way she put my hand on her hip and pressed until the pressure said, don't overthink. The way my mouth found the hinge of her jaw and she said my name like it had been revised and accepted. The way we paused twice because laughter is good for circulation. Once when the sheet decided to be a flag. Once when the dog cleared his throat like a judge who'd misread the docket. Heat came like tide, predictable and miraculous at once. We signed the moment with breath, not signatures. After, with the window cracked and the city pledging allegiance to someone else, she said, I want rules that feel like tools, not bars. Okay, I said. Rule 1, the apartment doesn't get to talk without us. We'll unplug what calls strangers after midnight. Rule 2, if we have to say his name, we say it like cleaning, not like prayer. Rule 3, novelty is a chore, not a storm. We take turns bringing it home. And Rule 4, she asked, propped on her elbow, looking expensive in the way intimacy makes a person look. When one of us misses the wrong thing, we say it out loud before it becomes a map. She kissed my chest exactly over the place my worst ideas live and said, I miss being easy. I don't miss him. I slept hard for the first time in a week. In the morning, a package leaned against our door with no return address. Inside, a small fabric pouch with a note in Anna's tidy hand. For the thing that misunderstands you. The pouch was a microphone cover, snug, handsome, efficient. Beneath it, a card from Mara, spectacle feeds on noise, make quiet on purpose. I put the cover on our traitorous speaker. It looked suddenly domestic, more pet than priest. At 10, my phone buzzed with a message from a number labeled Gallery that used to lead to Julian and now seemed to lead to a person paid to pretend he wasn't rude. "We're hosting a panel on listening spaces," it read. "We'd love Leela's perspective on the ethics of overhearing." I typed and erased 3 drafts of an answer like I was warming up to a stunt. Then I remembered my own rule. I texted Leela, "Invitation from the gallery, panel on listening. I'd like to say no with flourish or yes with terms. Your call." She wrote back, "Let's say no like people who have somewhere better to be," followed by a photograph of our kitchen table with 2 oranges, a knife, and a sticky note that read, "Dinner on the floor, 8 p.m. dress code, your favorite mistake." At 5:30, while the sky tried to decide if it had the energy to be dramatic, I met Mara outside Loom to thank her with a cookie she didn't admit she wanted. She accepted it like a woman who has earned sweetness. "How did you keep the appliances from organizing a coup?" she asked. "Made the room quieter," I said, "and promised the people in it would be louder." "No one ever cured hunger with logic," she said, "but hunger behaves when you feed it better food." On the way home, I passed Julian on the corner by the florist where grief and anniversaries cost the same. He wore navy and certainty. He looked at me with that bland courtesy he reserves for men he thinks will one day write him a check. "Evening," he said. "Boring street, isn't it?" I said, because small cruelties taste like sherbet on hot days. "Only if you live in the wrong apartment," he said, which is the sort of line he polishes to mirror finish, and then hands out free. "I live in the right one," I said and kept walking. He didn't follow. He doesn't like to walk behind. At 8, the apartment was dim and kind. Leela cut the oranges over the sink and handed me a slice like a sacrament. "Tell me one true thing," she said, our ritual that arrived the first time we survived a month without making a dramatic mistake. "I wanted our speaker to absolve me from having to trust you," I said. "I wanted a gadget to be the parent we never make time to become for each other. It's less work to be angry at a device than to ask a person for a promise." She nodded, chewed, swallowed. "I wanted the city to flirt with me so I could believe I was still combustible," she said. "I wanted the risk without the price. The city sent me men with coats and panels with adjectives. I'm choosing the price instead, evangelizing you to myself every day." I set the knife down and stood between her and the counter, so the light made us into a single shape on the cabinet door. "Say my name the way you want to mean it," I said. She did 3 times. The 3rd time changed the room's temperature. "We are not pure. We are answerable in ways that make us less pretty and more durable." Sometimes at 2:31 a.m. the covered speaker glows with a faint, choked blue, and I watch it like a parent checking a sleeping child's chest. It keeps its silence. Sometimes my own mouth betrays me and forms the syllables of a man we don't hire or love, and I say them to Leela instead as a warning and a weather report. I am missing the wrong thing. Sometimes she misses it too, and we stand at the sink at the wrong hour eating fruit and saying the right names until the room listens. Twice a week, we move the couch 2 inches and make the apartment relearn us. We bring home novelty like takeout, too late, too early, in brown paper bags with grease stains of joy. We program the speaker to call each other at 2:31 a.m., alarms labeled "Go to bed with your favorite person." When it rings, Leela laughs into the pillow and says, "Okay, calling Evan," in the gadget's polite tone, and I say, "Put him on speaker," and she does, and my voice is there, not from a void or a record, but from the warm inches between us, asking what we could possibly need from anyone else.